Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 6, and yeah, we got some things to talk about. Okay, so first of all, yeah, they do not follow up, and I just gotta say this right away, they do not follow up the Moff Gideon teaser from last episode. That's not brought up at all in any kind of way, and immediately that's gonna get some people angry. I already know there's a lot of people who are angry at this episode out there, and we can go over why. Because basically, this episode, for like 90% of it, is what you would call a side quest. It's essentially just like doing a little side adventure, and I personally really enjoyed the adventure they went on. You know, they had a little bit of a, you know, conspiracy, Blade Runner, hunting down the droids kind of thing going on, right? Basically, it's Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. They go to this planet where they're trying to talk to the Mandalorians, or Bo-Katan's Mandalorians. You know, you got Axe Wolves and I forget the name of the other one. But, you know, it's basically, remember, Bo-Katan had been slowly collecting this fleet from the Imperials, and she was building up this army, and then when she didn't return with the Darksaber from the end of season 2, basically they just left her, saying like, oh, well, our leader is supposed to carry the Darksaber and you don't have it, so bye, you know? And they've essentially just been taking, you know, mercenary jobs ever since. And there's actually a really funny opening where it's like they gotta capture this Mon Calamari prince who had run off with his girlfriend, who was this, what's the name? What are they called? The more squid-looking people. They share the same planet, but I don't remember exactly what they're called. The Quillarans or something like that. Anyways, look, it's two people in alien rubber animatronic masks, and they're having like a love scene kind of thing. They're having like a, oh, I love you, I can't leave, and they're like, you have to go, you know. But it's, you know, it's funny seeing two live action aliens do it, because they're both like fish people, you know. So it was kind of a funny scene, you know. And that's generally how I would describe this episode. Is it was like goofy fun. And my thing is, because we only have, you know, 2 episodes after this, and we didn't address the Moff Gideon of it all, a lot of people out there, even if this episode, it was fun and it was goofy and it was like, I actually had a good time with it, a lot of people are still going to be really mad about this, you know, because a lot of people are kind of waiting for them to just get right to the, you know, the meat of the plots and the big developments and the Moff Gideon. And, you know, I can't say that they're entirely wrong for feeling that way, right? Because, you know, it is like, hey, what's the plot here, you know? So I'm not gonna say that like, you're wrong if you feel that way, but I had a good time with this. You know, it was fun, you know. And of course, they get to the planet where they're trying to talk to Bo-Katan's Mandalorians, and basically they're like, okay, we can introduce you to those Mandalorians, but first we need a favor, and it is Jack Black and Lizzo, who I'm not as familiar with, but Jack Black, I heard his voice immediately. I was like, oh my god, is it really him? And it was. And basically, you know, he's playing like the mayor of this place, and they're talking about how like great it is, and they've just reintroduced democracy to this planet, and you know, he used to be an imperial here, but he's changed his ways, and yeah, they're just all really, is the word posh? Was the word? They're really pompous, rich people playing their games, and none of the citizens of this planet have to do any work because they have droids to do all the work for them. So everyone just kind of has this relaxed lifestyle where they can dress in overly extravagant clothes and kind of talk like this, you know. And that's Jack Black the entire time, and it was hilarious. I know some people are mad. They want, you know, they're like, get to the Moff Gideon stuff already. Like, I get it. I understand. There's only 2 episodes left. I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm just more willing to have fun than a lot of other people who just want to get to the plot. I don't know. But I saw Jack Black here, and I was like, this is amazing. This is hilarious. So, I don't know. And then they introduced their head of security. And it is, oh my god, it is Doc Brown. It is Doc Brown himself. Oh, Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown. he is the head of security, and of course another iconic voice. You hear his voice and you're like, oh yeah, it's him. And basically what's happening is that every once in a while a droid is malfunctioning, and sometimes it's as simple as crashing into something, and other times it's like, and this was like kind of a really dark part of the episode, they show this sequence where this one droid is just chopping up a bunch of food with these, like, you know, with a bunch of little axes for hands, right? And then they don't show it, but they see a bunch of people screaming, and it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, something happened with there in that droid. I guess he chopped a bunch of people up, I guess. But anyways, they're trying to figure out, like, okay, discover why these droids are malfunctioning, help us do all this, and then we'll get you to your Mandalorian. So, you know, it is a side quest in a video game, right? Like, it's just like, all right, you gotta go do this, and then we'll let you continue on with your main plot of trying to find the Mandalorians. And that's basically all that happens. You know, they do like a, you know, investigative work. They talk to this guy, and then they go talk to the Ugnaughts, and he has to mention Quill again, you know, and that was pretty cool how, like, oh, okay, Quill was well known in the Ugnaught community, you know, so like he mentioned his name, they agree to help him, they have to say I have spoken again, right? So that was pretty cool. I like that they brought all that back. And then of course, yeah, we see a bunch of battle droids, you know, B1s and super battle droids, and they do the voice like, hello, excuse me, sir, you know, they so all that was great. Din just kicking the super battle droids until one of them is going to react, because he's like, well, one of these, you know, supposedly they've all been deprogrammed and they're not supposed to be, you know, combat droids anymore, but one of these is going to react to something, and then we'll know which one's malfunctioning. And basically it all just leads to droids have been going to this droid bar, which, you know, I love that there's a droid bar, just like how, you know, there's a human bar where they're like, hey, we don't serve their kind here, and then R2-D2 had to sit out. So now it's the complete opposite. It's a droid bar now. Anyways, and basically they get like this, they try to, it's like a programming fluid that updates something. I don't really understand what they were trying to get at. I might have to watch the scene again where they explain exactly what you get at a droid bar. But in any case, turns out there were nanobytes inside of this fluid that these droids had been getting, and these nanobytes had been nanobots had been getting bought by Christopher Lloyd's character. And it turns out, basically, you know, he's talking about how you know, like, oh, the New Republic is bad and the Empire was bad, and then they're like, oh, he's a separatist, and he's like, Count Dooku was right, you know. And it's just really funny because he's like this really old guy. He's like, Count Dooku was a visionary, you know, back in my day, you know. And it kind of gives you a sense of how long ago the Clone Wars was, which again is kind of funny because Christopher Lloyd's character is really old, and then Bo-Katan, hey, she was also around during the Clone Wars. She even points that out in this episode. She doesn't look old at all, you know, so it's like, okay, how old is Bo-Katan supposed to be? I know that's an ongoing debate, but it's like, she doesn't look old in any kind of way, and yet Christopher Lloyd over here is like real old, and he's talking about being a separatist back in my day, you know, and how Count Dooku was right, you know, so it's kind of funny. Anyways, so they arrest Christopher Lloyd's character, and you know, you have guest stars being celebrities. You know that one of them is going to end up being the bad guy, right? So of course it was either going to be Jack Black or it was going to be Christopher Lloyd. So it was him, and he gets arrested, and you know, Grogu was sitting there with Lizzo the whole episode, and he gets an honorary knighthood, and they get like a key to the city, and you know, so it was just like kind of a wrapped up little, like, okay, cool, they went on a little fun adventure. There was some funny moments, but you know, again, this is late in the season. We only got 2 episodes left. I understand people are going to be aggravated that, you know, we were just starting to hit the main plot of like Moff Gideon and Dr. Pershing and Coruscant and the New Republic. Like, all this stuff was like just starting to get cooking, and now we have essentially an episode that does not address any of that stuff, and it's so late in the season. So like, I get it. I understand people are upset. But I don't know. I had fun. I thought this was a fun episode. So I don't know. Again, it might just be me. Maybe I'm willing to just be like, yeah, I had fun. So that's all that really matters. But anyways, look, so Bo-Katan ends up challenging Axe Wolves, and she beats him, and a lot of it was jetpack, stunt people on strings being pulled towards each other while they fly through the air. They did pull out a little bit of flamethrowers and shields and attachment ropes and all their little Mandalorian gadgets. They probably could have used more of that because a lot of it was just the jetpack stuff. But she beats him, and so now she's taking control of her crew again. And then Din Djarin, they're still pointing out how, like, hey, our ruler's supposed to have the Darksaber and you don't have it, and the one who has it is this crazy cult guy who doesn't he doesn't even have Mandalorian blood in him, right? And that's another interesting thing about it, is like, again, we're still just like getting little peeks into how all these people are different, right? He's like, he doesn't have Mandalorian blood, right? And it's like, okay, well, he took the creed and he chose to follow the way, just like our ancestors did. So he's just as much a Mandalorian as they were, right? So I guess it makes sense in that kind of way of like, okay, you were all born Mandalorian and we were all born like on Mandalore or a Mandalorian settlement, whereas Din Djarin was a foundling and they took him in, right? But yeah, you point out like, well, the original Mandalorians, they took a creed, and they they weren't born on Mandalore either. The original people, they came to Mandalore and they took a creed and they decided to follow whatever path, so it's like, okay, so someone does it now, someone did it 1,000 years ago, what's the difference, right? So you kind of bring up that point. It's like, all right, I guess anyone could be a Mandalorian, bloodline or not, that kind of thing, and so we kind of even get back to back in Clone Wars when they were like, Jango Fett is not a Mandalorian, like that whole confusion of it all. Anyways, so basically what happens is Din Djarin's like, well, here's the Darksaber. Look, I got beat by the General Grievous guy in the cave, back in the beginning of the season, and I lost the Darksaber, and then Bo-Katan picked it up and she saved me, so does the Darksaber not belong to her? And the funny thing is, I saw people on Twitter make that argument when that episode came out. I saw people saying that, like, yeah, shouldn't she have it now? Is it not hers? So there you go. I guess validation for you, right? I guess you were right. Everyone kind of just agrees. They're like, yeah, okay. I guess it's hers now. Now, yeah, I would have preferred if they I thought Din Djarin was just gonna be like, well, here, challenge me for the Darksaber. Let's have a little fight. It doesn't have to be a fight to the death. I mean, you just fought Axe Wolves, and there you go. All he has to do is yield, and then no one has to die, right? So let's just do that. I thought that's what was about to happen. I thought she was about to fight him, and then Din Djarin would have been like, okay, I lose, I yield, and then there you go, you win, right? Like, I thought that was gonna be it. But no, he just points out, like, yeah, she saved my life. I lost the Darksaber already. She got it, so really, whose Darksaber is this anyways? So there you go. Bo-Katan has now taken control of her fleet that she had back in season 2, and she has the Darksaber, and she's friends with, the Armorer and Din Djarin's people. So yeah, it seems like she's perfectly capable of uniting everyone. She walks, she walks in both worlds. Is that what the Armorer said, right? So this seems to be it. Now, again, this is, there's another thing. Another thing that some people are getting mad about is that this seems to be more of Bo-Katan's story than Din Djarin's, right? And other people keep on pointing out, we're like, well, it's just called The Mandalorian. It's just about the Mandalorians, It's like any Mandalorians. That's what the show's about, right? So, I'll say this. Look, it definitely does feel like Din Djarin's character arc has kind of gone full circle, right? Like, he found Grogu, he found a heart, and he took his helmet off for Grogu, said goodbye, got Grogu back, put the helmet back on, and now he's part of the crew again, and he's just a fully formed guy now, right? Like, he doesn't seem to have much more to go, and I know a lot of people were hoping that he was going to have like this, this place where he leaves the cults and he doesn't do any of that, and that was going to be like his character growth, right? But that's not the direction they ended up going. I know some people were disappointed with that. Yet another thing people are mad about. But Bo-Katan, the truth is, Bo-Katan has a lot more development as far as like being a member of this franchise. You know, like if you go back, watch Clone Wars, watch Rebels, yeah, it makes sense for her to be the person, you know, the one who's going to unite everyone. And I know some people were like, yeah, but Din Djarin's the main character of this show. It's like, yeah, of this show, but this is like Bo-Katan's third show that she's been in, you know? So it's like, it just makes a lot more sense for her to be the leader. You know, she has much more credentials. Like on paper, you put both of them together, it's like, okay, Bo-Katan's obviously the leader here, you know? So I don't know. A lot of people are mad that Bo-Katan's like the focus of the season, seemingly, but like, I don't know, guys. It makes sense, you know? Like, so take from that what you will. It feels like Din Djarin has completed his whole character arc, and he's back where he started, but he's a lot more confident in his place there, you know? So like, I don't know. I'm okay with it. I know some people want him to leave the cult. I know some people want him to be the leader of the Mandalorians. But that just doesn't, at least for now, seem to be what's happening. Now, if something happens to Bo-Katan, which I know a lot of people would not want to happen, but if something does happen to Bo-Katan, then I guess there you go. There's Din Djarin's place, you know, and a lot of people would probably hate that too. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what do you guys want? It seems like no matter what they do, people are going to be mad, you know what I mean? And I think that's just the truth of it, you know? And as much as people say, oh, Grogu shouldn't have come back, it's like, you know, many people would have been mad if Grogu was not in this show. You know what I'm saying? So like, it doesn't matter what they do. People are going to be mad, so just be mad. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that I had fun with this episode. I acknowledge that, like, hey, we've got 2 episodes left. What are we leading up to here, you know? And I'm sure that Moff Gideon's gonna end up being a major part in the finale. Will it feel kind of rushed at the end? Yeah, maybe. But again, if you go look at season 2 again, because I keep on seeing these season 2 comparisons. If you guys go watch season 2, I want you to go look and notice, when did Moff Gideon come back into season 2? Because it was a lot later than I feel like a lot of people are remembering. It seems like a lot of people are thinking that Moff Gideon showed up at the beginning of season 2, but he did not, you know? So I don't know. I think people are misremembering things because they love the ending of season 2 so much that they're kind of like blurring a lot of like how the pacing of that season went. Season 3 is actually not that far off from what happened in season 2, but anyways, that's just my opinion. But yeah, this is definitely Bo-Katan's centric season because she has a lot more places to go and a lot more potential as far as like what this is all leading up to. She's gonna be the leader of the Mandalorians, whereas Din Djarin, he gets to be a dad, you know, like I think that's the truth. He gets to be a dad to a foundling Grogu, and that's what that's gonna be, you know. So I don't know. Are people gonna be mad? Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 things I've pointed out now as to why people are gonna be angry at this episode, or at this season, or at the character journeys, or you know. But hey, this is Star Wars. What would it be if the fandom was not angry at something, right? So anyways, let me know what you guys think about this episode of The Mandalorian. Let me know what you think about everything else. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.